Hello, world. I am back today after a little bit here. I was attending a retreat last week, and I'm super excited to be here with you today and share this next part in the How to Build a Cash Rich Business series. If you are here live with me today, let me know if you can hear me and see me. If you're watching on the recording, it's lovely to have you as well. Kelly says, good to see you today. Yes, lovely to see you as well. And well, I have some exciting stuff to share with you today about the topic within the series of how to build a cash rich business, the topic of how to handle debt. If you have debt personally or have had debt personally, or especially in your business, we're going to talk about debt in the context of business today. And if you have had debt or have debt right now, you may already know how debt can be debilitating and disempowering and just drain your energy and make decision making really hard, and even waking up in the morning being motivated really difficult. So if you're in a place where debt is depleting you, demotivating you, and draining you in your business and in general, even in your life, then this topic and today, what I'm about to share today, is for you. So let's get started. And the first thing to know is I'm going to cover the basics. So basically, if you have any kind of debt, what it means is that you've borrowed money at some point in time in the past. And when you borrow money, usually you are paying interest on that money. The reason is because there's this principle called time is money. So money, as we think about it, isn't a solid thing per se. It's actually it's an IOU, as in in the case of currency that's issued by the government is basically giving you a note saying, here is $1, for example, in the United States, and basically the government owes you $1 worth of value from this particular economy called the United States of America. So not getting too much into the government aspect of it, but money used to be, the currency used to be backed by like its weight in gold. It's no longer backed by anything solid like its weight in gold and stuff like that. So money itself is already debt. It is an IOU from the government. Of course, it's backed by the guarantee of the government that the government is going to hold its value in the economy. But with inflation and everything, that value does tend to get diluted. But basically, if you have debt, that means you've borrowed money and there is interest that's being paid on that money because there's a time value of money. Basically, the truth is that even though you think that you borrowed money, when you borrow money, what actually happens is not that you get money. What you are buying is time. So I want this to really sink in. So let this really sink in, and this can be a little bit hard to understand at first if you're hearing this concept for the first time. But when you borrow money, what you're actually getting is not the money, because that money needs to be paid back. And for the amount of time that you have that money, access to that money, you are paying some kind of an interest on it, right? So the reason you pay interest on it is because what you are actually getting is access to that amount of money for a specific amount of time. And however much amount of time you borrow the money for and keep your access to it, that's how much the interest is that you pay on that money. So what you're really paying is the interest, and the interest you're paying is for the time that you have access to it. The money itself, let's say you borrowed $100,000, that you didn't really get $100,000. You got access to the $100,000 for an amount of time, let's say 2 years, if you need to pay it off in 2 years, right? So you need to return that $100,000 in 2 years. So you're not really getting to keep the $100,000, but you're getting access to the $100,000 for the amount of time that is 2 years in this example. And so you'll be paying some amount of interest for having access to that $100,000 for the amount of time, which is 2 years. So what you are buying by paying interest is access to that $100,000 amount of money for the time period of 2 years. And what you're buying is the time of 2 years, access to the money for that amount of time. Now, why this is important is because now, instead of thinking, how do I get rid of debt, which means how do I pay back that $100,000? Well, if you wanted to not have that access to $100,000 for this example, then you wouldn't have borrowed it in the first place. The fact that you borrowed it means that you wanted to do something with that money. You wanted to have access to that money, that amount, so you could do something with it. The intelligent thing to do is to think about return on that amount of money, getting a return on that amount of money in the least amount of time possible. So if I borrowed $100,000 for the amount of time frame of 2 years, and let's say I was going to pay a 5% interest on it per year, so that's 5% per year for 2 years, about 10%, just doing rough math. Now I'm paying 10% interest for this $100,000 to be about $10,000. So I'm paying $10,000 to have access to $100,000 for 2 years, right? Follow me on that math. Now, why am I paying that $10,000 of interest to have access to that $100,000? Well, the intelligent thing to do is for me to think, okay, I'm paying $10,000 in interest for having access to the $100,000 for 2 years. How quickly can I get a return on that interest that I'm paying? So if I'm paying $10,000 in 2 years, how quickly can I make $10,000 at least or more from that $100,000 access I have? Or how quickly can I save $10,000 or more in my business through other activities I'm doing, which essentially helps me make more money or keep more money, right? By saving it. So if I can make more than $10,000 in that 2 years time frame, from the access to the 100,000 I have, and pay off that 100,000 by the end of 2 years, that was a worthwhile thing for me to do. That was worthwhile because I paid 10,000, but I made 50,000 or even 20,000. That is more money I made by having access to the 100,000 than I would have been able to do if I didn't have access to that borrowed money. So the point in all of this and the gist is that if you borrow money, you're not really getting money. You're getting access to the money for a specific amount of time. And the amount of time that you're getting access to it, you're paying interest on it. And the interest you're paying is what you're really paying. And what you want to determine is, can you get at least that much or more return by having access to that much money in terms of making more money or saving money or investing that money and making more again, or having more peace of mind, which helps with your health or wellness or helps your family in some way, or even increasing your pleasure. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. So pleasure and enjoyment. So I do this in my business all the time, where I borrow money, where I get access to a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time. And then the interest I'm paying on that amount for, let's say, a year, I focus on making more or saving more than that much money, so that borrowing becomes an investment and a positive propellant for my business to grow further. Now, if you have borrowed money and it's draining your energy, if it isn't contributing to a positive momentum and progress forward in your business, then this is where you need to understand that this debt could be draining your energy, and you need to do one of three things. If you are losing power, or if it's draining your energy, you need to make a crystal clear plan to return that debt, like return that money, reduce the debt, or you need to get it under control in some way, and again, make a plan to get it under control so that you don't have to keep borrowing more money, which keeps draining your energy more. So reducing the need to borrow more. And you also can benefit from changing your perspective on the debt you already have, what you've already incurred, and what you can't go back in time and necessarily change right now. I'm going to tell you a story of how I did this with one of my clients. Let me know in the chat, what is it that you're hearing from what I've shared so far? And what's your biggest takeaway so far? What's your aha from what I've shared so far? And I'll give you a moment before I go into the next story. So this happens all the time. Let me see. Yeah, Kelly says that debt can either give or take away power. It is important to shift debt that is taking it away. Yes. So debt can be good or bad for you. It's not like borrowed money isn't inherently good or bad. It just depends on how you view it and how it makes you feel and what your perspective is on it and how you're using it. If it is empowering you, if it is helping you grow, if it's making you more money, if it's helping you save money in the long term, then it's good and it's working for you, and it's important to feel good about it, because then it'll empower you even more. And borrowed money, if it's making you feel like disempowered, if it's making you lose your power and it's making you feel bad and low, then that's a sign that we need to shift your perspective. We need to make a plan to get it under control so you don't have to keep borrowing more. And we need to create a plan so you can return some of the money you've borrowed, so that, again, it doesn't keep draining you of your energy, and then you can use more of the energy you have to create more growth. So the story I was going to tell you, I had a client who beautifully explained. This makes sense. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. It's great to hear that this is making sense. So I had a client who came to me and was overburdened with debt. What this company had done is they had borrowed a lot of money and bought a lot of inventory, because this client had a products business where they would buy inventory and then they would sell it to their customers. So they'd borrowed a lot of money and bought a lot of inventory. And now the inventory was sitting in their warehouse, and the customers that they thought were going to buy the inventory to turn it back into cash hadn't come full swing and bought all the inventory. So they were crushed in debt, and they were frustrated with this inventory they had sitting in their warehouse, and the fact that the customers weren't coming in full swing yet to buy it. So now we were in a session and they brought this issue that they brought it to our meeting, and they wanted to get rid of the inventory. And so they were like starting to say, okay, maybe we should slash our prices and do like a 50% off sale and see if our customers will buy this, so that we can get rid of it as soon as possible. Now, as I started talking to them, I quickly noticed that the energy around this debt and this inventory was extremely draining, and it was draining their power. They were losing their power, draining their energy. They called this inventory aged inventory, like it's old and it's, just there's this ickiness around the whole thing. So I thought, before we make any plan or make any business decisions around slashing prices. Now, the thing about slashing their prices and doing a 50% off sale, sometimes there is a time and place for doing that. In this case, I wasn't entirely sure, because it would also slash their margins, and then it would reduce their income and their profit margin. So it would affect their bottom line, and the net profit they would have would reduce. And so it wasn't necessarily an exciting thing in the long run, but they were just wanting to get rid of this inventory. They felt icky about it, right? So the natural instinct was to get rid of it as soon as possible. And what could they do? The only thing they could think of is we slash prices and sell this at a loss even. And so the first thing we did is I said, they were calling this inventory aged inventory, because in their mind it was old. And what I had them do is this visualization exercise. And what we did is we took a deep breath, calmed our nervous system down, and I asked them to think of all the things that needed to happen that had brought this inventory to life and into their warehouse. The people, the materials, the companies, the partners, all of the energy that had gone into creating this inventory, the amount of time that it had taken to manufacture, to design these products, to manufacture them in the plants by the suppliers, the trucks and the ships and all the freight forwarders that had to do so much work to bring that cargo from where it was manufactured to where it was stored in the warehouse, in their warehouse in the company. And all of the effort that now the warehouse team was putting into it to store it and keep it in good condition and make sure it's organized and ready to ship when any customer needed those products. And as we thought about all of these factors, we came to a realization that it is a sheer miracle that this inventory even exists in the warehouse right now. It has taken an enormous amount of time, energy, effort, focus, attention, creativity, and synergy for so many people and their brains and their hearts and their energy, their arms and feet and their actions to create this inventory, this set of products that is perfectly in good condition, still able to be usable by the customers, and it's being taken care of by the warehouse in such a good way. And it's such a sheer miracle that instead of calling it aged inventory and old inventory that need to get rid of ASAP at all costs, we started seeing it as a miracle. And we started calling it, in that moment, the miracle inventory. And as soon as we saw it as a miracle, and we were able to identify a new name for it, being miracle inventory, we had a newfound respect for the amount of money that was borrowed, that was used to pay for it. Instead of the debt, that borrowing being this burden that was draining their energy, now it was money that had allowed them to purchase this miracle inventory that was by a sheer miracle in their warehouse, ready to be shipped out to customers as the customers demanded it. And until then, just being seen as a sheer miracle that it was. And it was a miracle that they even had the ability to borrow the money that was needed to purchase the miracle inventory. And the moment they started to see things in a different light here, the client and their team had a completely different feeling about this inventory and the money borrowed for it. And they were able to really shift their perspective, and we were able to see everything through a new light. And we were able to determine whether it was really necessary to do a 50% off sale to get these products shipped out of the warehouse at a loss to the company right now, or come up with a different plan. And the team, with the miracle inventory in light, was able to determine that it was not necessary to do a 50% off sale, which would hurt their bottom line and their profit margins too at the current moment, because their cash flow was okay. They were still able to sustain the regular fixed expenses, and the cash flow was fine. And they were okay with buying some more time to let the customers demand pick up, so that the customers can buy the products that were in the warehouse in the right time frame. And so, understanding that borrowed money and whatever it's used for, in the client's case, it was used for purchasing inventory. Seeing it all in a new light, just being present to the sheer miracle that this borrowed money has made available to this client. And in your case, if you've borrowed money and you've bought some product or service or anything with it, just seeing the sheer miracle of what it has taken for you to even get access to that money, the borrowed money, and what you have purchased through it. And the fact that you have that product or service to benefit you right now and your customers or clients in the future, when you're present to the sheer miracle of it, you can rename it and reference that debt, that borrowed money, and what you've purchased through it in a whole new light, where it all feels like a pure miracle to you. When you are in that space where it's a miracle, what naturally happens and should come up within you from your heart is gratitude. Gratitude is this very high vibrational energy and frequency where you can see the good in the situation, the amazing miracle that it is that you have been able to borrow this money to purchase the product or service. And the fact that you still have access to it, so you can really benefit from it for the time frame that you still have it for. And you can make a plan to return that debt over time and get it under control if you need to do that to keep your power. And with this change in perspective, what this client in the story was able to do is they were able to, instead of just doing 50% off sale, which would have hurt their margins and really not have been the best solution, they were able to create a much better step-by-step strategic plan to introduce what they have to their customers, understand from their customers what their demand looks like in terms of the estimated annual usage, and keep their prices intact, but understand better about the time frame that they realistically saw their customers purchasing the inventory in. And not only did that help them come up with a time frame of how that inventory would be used up by their customers and come down over time, and they would be able to repay the borrowed money that they had borrowed for it, but also they understood the customer's demand even on a deeper level, so that they could come up with a better way to maintain the stock levels to address their customers' demand in a healthy way, where they would only borrow the amount of money that was needed to purchase the amount of products that was needed based on the customer's anticipated demand going forward, and not just haphazardly where they would, seesaw between having too much product and customers not having that much demand, to then not having enough product and then customers waiting for the products. And like both those situations were just not ideal for the customers and for their cash flow and inventory management. So they were able to create a harmonized, balanced approach to meeting their customers' demand and stocking their products around their customers' demand, versus having too much borrowing or too little product available and being in this seesaw. So again, the fact that we were able to shift the perspective from this debt and the purchased inventory, from the debt being this life draining, aged old inventory we need to get rid of right now, to what a miracle it is that we have this, and what a miracle it is that we're able to create this product and use borrowed money for it. What a miracle it is that now we get to learn from this and create a more effective and efficient and effective plan to meet our customers' demand, and how we can use this debt and this borrowing capacity that we have going forward in a way that actually benefits the business and our customers as well. How we can grow from this and grow using this propellant, the borrowed money, going forward. That shift in perspective made all the difference in the plan ahead. And they've created a really harmonized plan going forward. So whether you have inventory business in your business or it's a service-based business, even if it is a service-based business, a lot of times in order to grow in terms of your marketing, your sales activity, your team, your operational support, you will need to use borrowed money, which, remember, it's not money that you're getting. You're getting access to money for a specific amount of time. So you're really buying time when you borrow money. But when you borrow money, you're buying time. And when you buy that time, you need to think about, how are we going to use this time wisely, this money in that amount of time wisely, to create more income or to save on certain expenses, to either make more money or save money, which again helps you grow further. And how can we view this borrowed money and this time we're buying in the highest vibrational frequency, and that level, that perspective that helps you see it as a miracle, experience it as a miracle, really feel the gratitude for it, because that keeps you in a high vibrational state, which always brings multifold abundance back to you. So once you are feeling the high vibration, once you see the miracle in it, and you are able to notice the reasons why you're grateful for it, then you can create, with your thoughts, with the power of your intention, the kind of belief that every dollar I borrow makes me $10 and brings back 100-fold return on that investment of the time that I'm buying from it. And so that is the belief that I've cultivated in myself, in my personal life, and in my business. And it comes true every single time. Every dollar I borrow makes me 10 times more money. And then that 10 times more brings 100 times more happiness, fulfillment, joy, peace, and more abundance for myself, my business, my team members, my clients, and the world at large. And that's how I view debt or borrowed money. And Kelly says, every dollar I borrow brings me $10. I love it. Yes, and it brings you hundredfold more abundance, joy, fulfillment. Allow it to empower you in that way. Allow every dollar and every cent, every quarter to empower you in that way through the power of your mind, because everything is created in your mind first and then in your three-dimensional reality next. So whatever you create in your mind is going to come back to you in reality and manifest in your life and business. So with that, celebrate the good that is coming from the money that you've borrowed or any money that you borrow going forward. Celebrating, being aware of the good that's in it, being grateful is all that energy that's going to raise your vibration. And so, with that, we have the topic for today. We've covered the topic for today, which is how to handle debt. And this is in the series of how to build a cash rich business. If every dollar you borrow, you pay that dollar back and you pay a certain amount of interest for the amount of time you borrow that dollar for. But the amount of money, if it brings back $10 to you, that not only pays for that interest, but it brings that much more money into your business that now you can invest with more and keep more of it. And that's how you create a cash rich business. So let me just look at my notes and see if I covered everything for you today. Yeah, the last thing I want to say is the reason celebration is so important is because it activates your pleasure portal. So feeling pleasure is a fundamental necessity of being a human being, because pleasure is a feeling that activates you in a way that you want more of it. And there are unhealthy ways to want pleasure, and they are unhealthy and are not good for you in the long term. But there are healthy ways to activate the pleasure portal and celebrate your wins, and being in gratitude and celebrating and seeing the good in even the borrowing that you have or you're about to make. It activates the pleasure portal in a way that you can now attract more of that money back and create a really, truly delicious, cash rich business that not only makes a big difference in your life, but also makes a tremendous positive impact in the world and helps your clients in a big, big way. So that's really, really important to notice. Is the borrowing that you have currently, are you able to see it in a light where you can actually activate your pleasure portal? And are you able to see it as a true miracle? And if you still aren't able to see it in a way that activates your pleasure portal, after hearing everything I've shared today and trying to see it in that light, here's what I have used as a tool with my client, and I use this all the time with myself and with my client, is the debrief tool. If you need help with this, if you need any more help with this, reach out to me through my website, and I'm happy to work with you on a one-on-one call to help you shift your perspective, feel it in a new light, raise your vibration about your debt, and also strategically come up with a structured plan to return the debt, get it under control if you need to, and actually allow it to help empower you further. So if you need help with this, go to my website, schedule a call with me, and we will work through whatever situation you have and turn it completely around for you. And in the meantime, here's the tool that I use with my clients called the debrief tool. And the debrief tool has 4 questions. So write these down. First question is, what's working? So in regards to this debt or the borrowed money, what's working? That this is the opportunity for you to list out what's good about it, what good has come from it, even if it's just one thing, even if it's hard to find something that's good about it, something that's working, and write that down. Next is what's not working. So it's easy to think of it as everything's not working, but get more specific. What's not working exactly about it? And write all that down. Get it in writing, get it down on paper. And then the next question is, what have you learned? So what have I learned? What am I learning from this experience? And write everything that you have learned or you are learning from this experience. And then 4th question is, what am I learning about myself, or what have I learned about myself through this experience? And this is the most important question to answer, is what have I learned, or what am I learning about myself? So what are you learning about yourself from this situation? And write that down as well. This is a life-changing and a trajectory-changing, shifting exercise. The 4 questions in the debrief exercise. If you are able to do this, you'll find new insights come up for yourself, new realizations come to light for yourself. So I encourage you to do that in your journal, in your notebook or notepad. And if you need more hand-holding or more guidance, or just someone to answer more of your specific questions and help you get the burden of debt off of your shoulders and out of your life, and start to see the decisions you make in a more positive light, and really build a cash-rich business, if you're ready for that, reach out to me through my website. A link to that is included for you in the description of this video, and we'll post it in the comments in the chat or comment section as well. And with that, I look forward to seeing you on the one-on-one call if you schedule one with me, and if not, in the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed today's content. Let me know in the chat if you have enjoyed it. Put a yes or your favorite emoji and let me know. I love hearing from you. I read every single comment, and I look forward to sharing more valuable content with you in my next videos. If you liked this content, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, leave a comment, let me know what you took away from today's video for yourself. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the life-changing content I'll be sharing in my next videos. And with that, lots of love to you, lots of abundant vibes, until next time, take care. Have a beautiful, blessed day, everyone. Bye bye.